Oil's up today, partially on reports that the Treasury Secretary and others may have.
What is it up to?
Depends on which, but it's about $25. But on the suggestion that the Treasury Secretary and others may have presented you with a plan for government assistance to the oil companies.
Well, we're not going to let our oil companies go and get in trouble. It's not their fault that they got hit by 50% less volume in one day. You know, one instant, all of a sudden, these very great companies are employing all these people. So I'm talking to Steve, and you know, we just saved the airlines. The airlines were having the best year they've ever had. And then all of a sudden they're like out of business. We can't let that happen. So we saved the airlines. That's done. We're saving other companies and industries. And I would say, Steve, maybe you can talk to it, but I think the oil industry is one of the top on the list.
So we're looking at a lot of different strategies. We have a dedicated team combined of people at Treasury and people at the Department of Energy. As I've said before, this is not going to be a bailout of shareholders, but this is going to be supporting the national security issue. I would just comment the Secretary of Energy has done an extraordinary job of taking in oil in the strategic reserve and being paid for the storage capacity in oil. We're also exploring potentially having the ability to store another several 100 million barrels. So we're looking at lots of different options. We're in touch with lots of people around the world, and the President is determined that we protect the national security interest and the jobs.
Announcement this week about.
Well, we had a very interesting thing because we had a lot of capacity, meaning you can fill it up in the national strategic reserves, and you know, it wasn't full. And we made a great deal. If you would have told us that we could have had that filled up, or it's on the way to being filled up at the kind of pricing that we're talking about, I would have said you have to be kidding. We're talking about 19, I'm not sure Chris is going to be happy about this because it doesn't pertain to the hotel business, don't get scared, but you know, we're talking about like 1952 pricing. It's unbelievable. It's prices that are so low, and in some cases we're storing oil and getting paid for storage because we have a tremendous capacity for it. So what's happened with the strategic reserves is incredible.
And additional aid might be announced this week, or do you have a timeline for that?
Say it.
Additional aid might be announced this week, or do you have a timeline for it?
On that?
For oil companies.
Well, you mean a plan to help them out?
Yes.
I would say shortly. I mean, right now we're dealing with some of the big ones, but the big ones are very strong. They've been very strong over the years. I think that they're not going to have the problem. But we have a lot of great people and a lot of great jobs in Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and other states that are great. It's energy. It's not. I don't even call it oil. I call it energy. This is the backbone of the world, really. You know, you can talk all of the green. I'm all for green, but the green can't power these massive factories that are being built in this country. It just can't. The windmills aren't going to be able to do it. And solar's not going to be able to do it. I love solar, but it's not going to be able to do it. And, you know, we're getting it for the right price, but we're not going to we're energy independent. We're not going to let our energy industry down. We're not going to let them, and it's not our fault. It's not their fault. But we're not going to let anything happen to them, so we're working on that very hard. I think protecting energy and energy independence, to me, that's a very big part of what happened. You know, energy has really helped me turn this country into the economic power that it's been, and we're not going to let that go.